Okay, first let me start off by saying I wasn't planning on talking about this show at all. And when I do talk about a show, I usually like to make little bullet point notes about certain things that I want to talk about. And because I didn't plan on it, I didn't do that for most of this show. Uh, it's only about the last two episodes I started doing that. So hopefully I'll be able to remember the stuff that I want to talk about. But that seems unlikely because I have a bit of a goldfish brain. But we'll give it a shot. And before I get started, just please know that if I say something like, this show is stupid, please don't take that personally. It's not a reflection on you. It's not me calling you stupid if you disagree. It's just how I feel about it. So now that that's out of the way, I'll start by saying this show is stupid. I mean, it's really stupid. Most prequels are pretty stupid, but this show is exceptionally stupid, in my opinion. So many things are shoehorned in, doesn't make sense. Most of them don't fit at all. It's a square peg in a round hole. And you could argue that most of them aren't contradictions, but I disagree. And I'll explain why when we get to them. There's obviously going to be spoilers in this, so hopefully you've seen it, because I'm going to assume that you have if you're watching this. And I'm obviously not going to talk about everything in detail, just the things that I thought were questionable. And believe it or not, there may be one or two things that I actually liked. Although, I kind of doubt it. But we'll see. The show starts 10 years after Revenge of the Sith. Obi-Wan is living a boring life, hiding on Tatooine, while watching over young Luke Skywalker. And he ends up getting a message from Bail Organa about his daughter Leia. She's been kidnapped by a Sith Inquisitor named Reva. And she's using Leia as bait to catch Obi-Wan. She doesn't know that Leia is Vader's daughter. But she knows that Obi-Wan and Bail Organa were co-workers, I guess, during the Clone Wars. And Reva thinks that loyalty to Bail will compel Obi-Wan to rescue Leia. And naturally, Obi-Wan is kind of compelled to help. But not at all for the stupid reasons that Reva thinks. She's really just got lucky. And I don't think Obi-Wan would have gotten involved at all just because he knew Bail during the Clone Wars. I don't think he would have come out of hiding for that. He gets involved because Leia is a hidden, important character. You know, she's Vader's daughter. And only Obi-Wan and Bail Organa really know that. And I've seen a lot of people talk about how great young Leia is. She's just like grown-up Leia. And they love that. But it doesn't make much sense to me. She's 10 years old. How many people had the same exact personality when they were 10 as they do as an adult? It's more like adult Leia just switched bodies with this kid, like Freaky Friday. That's what it seems like. She's too much like Leia. It's just a little bizarre. At any rate, Obi-Wan does rescue Leia, and they escape and go on a little adventure together, which seems to contradict her message to Obi-Wan in A New Hope. Definitely doesn't seem like Leia knew Obi-Wan when she sent that message. I mean, if she knows him, you'd think the message would be more like, General Kenobi, years ago you served my father in the Clone Wars. Also, we had a little adventure together about 9 years ago. I was kidnapped. You saved me. It was a whole thing. You remember that? Anyway, it's our most desperate hour again. Take this droid to Alderaan, old friend. Peace out. Now, I know that the show attempted to explain this. Kind of. When Obi-Wan tells her at the end of the show, we must be careful. No one must know. Which implies that Leia intentionally made the message impersonal to protect them, if it was ever discovered. But that's pretty dumb. How does keeping it vague protect them? There is still enough information on that hologram to sign both of their death warrants. Obi-Wan is already wanted by the Empire, and everything Leia says in the message incriminates her as a traitor. So leaving out the personal pleasantries accomplishes nothing. If the Empire saw that message, first of all, the rebellion is dead if that happens, because that means they also have the Death Star plans back in their possession. But if they see that message, they're not going to let Leia or Obi-Wan slide just because it seems like they don't know each other. It's not like if she mentions that she knows him and has a personal history with him, it gets any worse. Imagine Grand Moff Tarkin looking at that message and being like, so wait a second, Bail Organa's daughter is a traitor, and she sent a message to Obi-Wan Kenobi. But wait a minute. What the fuck? They know each other? They've met? Well, fuck me. They were dead before, but now they're twice as dead. I mean, it's just silly. And I know I'm babbling about this a little too much, but I didn't make this a thing, okay? The show made this a fucking thing. It contradicted A New Hope and then just slapped this little bullshit thing on the tail end of it to try to explain it, and it failed, in my opinion. And there comes a point where Reva is trying to capture Obi-Wan and Leia, and the Grand Inquisitor shows up. And he plans to take the lead on that, and I assume that all the credit as well. And Reva kills him. She stabs him through the chest. And she seems to have earned some favor with Vader because she becomes the new Grand Inquisitor. Okay, fine. And it turns out that Reva was a youngling at the Jedi Temple during Order 66. So Anakin stabbed her when she was a kid and left her for dead, only for her to later infiltrate the Empire by becoming an Inquisitor. So she could, I guess, eventually try to kill Darth Vader. But she also helps Darth Vader kill Jedi because she doesn't like Jedi either, I guess. And she's just waiting for the perfect opportunity to kill Vader. And just when it seems like she's about to do it, Vader reveals that he knew she was a traitor. How did he know? Well, the original Grand Inquisitor is still alive. He survived his wound and naturally ratted on Reva. So, what do they do to her? Well, they stab her, just like the Grand Inquisitor was stabbed. And they leave. But she survives because that kind of injury is apparently very survivable, as they all know. Let's go through the sequence of events with these stabbings in this show. 10 years ago, the newly minted Darth Vader walks into the Jedi Temple and stabs young Reva, leaves her for dead. She survives. Jump to 10 years later. Reva stabs the Grand Inquisitor, inflicting the same survivable injury on him, leaves him for dead. He survives. And after Vader stabs Reva, he and the Grand Inquisitor leave her for dead. Every one of these dumb motherfuckers stabs somebody, assumes they're dead, but they know from personal experience that it's a survivable injury. Vader stabs Reva twice. The same injury twice. He thought both times that she would die from it. I mean, it's fucking crazy. She stabbed the Grand Inquisitor through the gut, the same injury that she survived, and she assumed he was dead. I can't even articulate this. I know I sound like a maniac. Just by repeating the events of the show, I sound insane. So, Vader impales Reva. Reva impales the Grand Inquisitor. Vader impales Reva again, knowing full well that she has survived the same exact injury before, and also knowing the Grand Inquisitor recently survived it. and they leave thinking she's going to die. She left the Grand Inquisitor thinking he would die. I'm sorry, I keep harping on this, but it's so fucking brainless. I don't even understand how something like this gets made. Is it supposed to be a comedy? Because it seems like it's supposed to be a comedy. I hope it is. Then it's forgivable. But if I'm supposed to take it seriously, I don't know what to tell you. It's insane. And I know the people who defend this show, a lot of them, they're the actually people. Actually, Eddie, the dark side users can survive really bad injuries, okay? Just look at Vader and Darth Maul, okay? I don't want to fucking hear it. It's ridiculous. First of all, that's not even my main complaint. Let's say that's true, as ridiculous as it is. Various dark side wizards can survive really bad injuries. Okay, fine. So if that's the case, why do all these dark side users keep inflicting the same wound as though they think it's going to be deadly when they know it's not? I don't even know what to say. I mean, how do you defend that? If you have a defense for that, let me hear it. I want to know. And I really hope it's not just stating that Star Wars has always been dumb, because that's not a defense. If it's always been dumb, why the fuck do we like it? I mean, holy shit. You can't point to other dumb shit in Star Wars and act like that's an excuse for the current dumb shit. That means you're just being more critical than even I am at that point. Oh, and if I feel like I really am going off on a rant here, but if Vader knew that Reva was a traitor this whole time, why was she allowed to lead the siege against Obi-Wan? This show hits you over the head with this idea that Vader is obsessed with killing Obi-Wan. So if that's true, why would he risk that opportunity by putting a known traitor in charge? Makes no sense. Makes absolutely no sense. And it turns out that Reva, after being impaled by a lightsaber, finds a message from Bail Organa where he talks about Luke on Tatooine. So Reva is going to collect herself and go try to kill Luke. I don't know why. I guess because she hates Vader and he's his son. She somehow makes it to Tatooine with her flesh wound, while Obi-Wan and the rebellion refugees are still trying to escape from Vader. How did she do that? Does she have a teleportation device? Or is that a Sith Inquisitor ability that we don't know about? It seems odd that Vader would even leave her on that planet with a ship to get off of it. So maybe she can teleport. I don't know. I guess we're just not supposed to think about these little details. And Obi-Wan leaves Leia and the others because he knows Vader will follow him, because Darth Vader is no longer a cold, calculating, intelligent villain like he was in the original trilogy. Those days are long gone. He's a bumbling buffoon who falls for the bait every time. The first thing he says when he catches up to Obi-Wan is, "Have you come to destroy me?" He says, "Have you come to destroy me, Obi-Wan?" Have you come? Vader was the one chasing him. What the fuck? What a strange thing to say. Just imagine showing up at someone's house. You knock on their door. They answer it. And the first thing you say is, "Are you here to kill me?" I mean, they would slam the door in your face and call the police because you're a lunatic. It's just fucking insane. And, of course, they have a goofy fight. It's awkward. It's not that compelling. Actually, all of the fight scenes in this show are just kind of weird looking. It seems very low budget, like a fan film almost. I don't know why that is. Maybe it was low budget, but You'd think they'd be shelling out money for Obi-Wan, but I guess not. And we know Vader has the ability to sense Obi-Wan. He could sense his presence. We saw that in the first movie. So I don't know why there comes a point where he just leaves Obi-Wan buried under some rocks. He must know he's still alive under there. What is with these Sith motherfuckers just assuming people are dead when they're not? He's been so desperate to kill Obi-Wan, but he's not desperate enough to actually make sure that he's dead. And of course, he's not. Obi-Wan gets out from under the rocks, and the fight continues. He kicks Vader's ass. And there's admittedly a really cool scene where Vader's mask is damaged and half his face is showing. And his voice keeps fluctuating between Vader's voice and Anakin's voice, and it sounds cool. I thought that was actually pretty clever how they did that. And it's actually pretty fair, it's a fairly emotional scene. Ewan McGregor is doing a great job. I think that might be my favorite scene in the whole show. But it's kind of ruined because Obi-Wan just walks away. He leaves Vader still alive again, just like he did in Revenge of the Sith. How does that make any sense? Seriously. And I know some people are going to say, Eddie, he just can't do it. He can't bring himself to kill his friend. It's so sad. Well, no, because he doesn't even think of him as his friend anymore. He says, goodbye, Darth. And in the original trilogy, he talks about Vader and Anakin like they're two separate people. He's more machine now than man, twisted and evil. This is obviously not a guy who sees his best friend when he looks at Darth Vader. And even if he did see his best friend, he has a responsibility to the galaxy to kill Darth Vader right now. But he doesn't, obviously, because that can't happen because it doesn't happen in the story yet. I realize that, but then don't write it so that Obi-Wan has an opportunity to kill Darth Vader and just doesn't. That just makes him look like an asshole. What a failure Obi-Wan is. He's just failing every step of the way. It's all his fault in a lot of ways. And he obviously just leaves. Which, it makes no sense for what the line is in A New Hope. When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master. I mean, Vader didn't even leave him. Obi-Wan left him. But of course, there's probably going to be a season 2 of this stupid show. So maybe they'll meet 12 more fucking times before A New Hope. Probably turns out that by the time A New Hope rolls around, Obi-Wan had just seen Vader at the Christmas party 6 months prior to that. I mean, it's just asinine. And on Tatooine, Reva is about to kill Luke. Owen and Beru try to fight with her, but she eventually gets to Luke. And she stops herself because she realizes it's bad to kill a kid, I guess. Because that's exactly what Anakin did to all her friends at the Jedi Temple. So she speaks to Obi-Wan. And she still obviously hates Vader. And I really hope that she never finds out that Obi-Wan had the opportunity to kill Vader, not once, but twice, and just decided not to. I think she'd be pretty pissed about that. And Vader has a scene where he's talking to the Emperor. And he seems to want Vader to forget about Obi-Wan. Basically makes him admit that he means nothing. Which I don't understand at all. Isn't that contrary to what the Sith are? Isn't being a Sith about releasing anger and hatred? Why would the Emperor discourage these feelings that Vader has towards Obi-Wan? And don't they need to kill Obi-Wan? Forget about the personal vendettas. Now that they're 100% certain that Obi-Wan is alive, isn't he a major threat to the Empire? I mean, he could be training a whole new generation of Jedi, for all they know. Which is probably what he should be doing. But whatever. And Obi-Wan and Owen Lars have a scene where they kind of like reconcile their differences. And Obi-Wan meets Luke. But what bothers me about that is if they kind of come to an understanding, these two, why does Owen talk about Obi-Wan like he's a crazy old man? Like he in A New Hope, he says that wizard's just a crazy old man. They clearly came to an understanding in this show, so it seems weird that he would talk about him like that. And of course, Leia never had any reaction whatsoever to Obi-Wan's death in A New Hope. Seems like she would. Seems like her good friend just died. But nope. You see what I mean? Like, they just shoehorn this shit in and they act like it fits, and I just don't see how it does. And there's been a lot of talk about the Reva character. I realize that there's a lot of assholes on the internet. They say stupid shit. And I haven't seen it personally, but I don't doubt that it exists. It's safe to say that for some people, she was not a well-liked character from the moment she stepped on screen. I don't really understand that on any level because I think she's one of the few characters on this show that had any potential whatsoever. She's one of the few characters who has an unwritten future. Everyone else we know is going to live. Obi-Wan, Vader, Leia, Luke, Owen, Beru, Bail Organa. I mean, fuck me, we even know the Grand Inquisitor is going to live because he's in that stupid Rebels show. So I was kind of interested to see what's up with this character. But of course, she turned out to be kind of a whack job with a hilariously convoluted and contradictory plan to kill Darth Vader. Just made no sense to me. And Obi-Wan is barely a character. He barely seems relevant, and even when he seems relevant, he's boring, which I guess makes sense because he's always kind of been that way. But I mean, can we have some character growth for this guy? 6 movies he's been in, an animated TV show, and a live action show now. I mean, and he's like the same exact dude, pretty much. And he's also a fuck up. Almost all of this shit is his fault. He could have killed Vader. How does he live with himself? How does he not take any responsibility for what's happened in the galaxy? All Obi-Wan does is screw up and then fuck off. I mean, he basically should just come out and say what this guy said.
I woke up. Now I'm going back to sleep because I'm going to be committed in an isolation room because I'm going to go back to the ministry and allow them to perceive me as I am, a fuck up. Goodbye. Hey, Toronto.
I mean, that's basically what he's like. He's just a crazy old hermit who went into hiding after fucking up the galaxy twice now. And if I had to give it a rating, I'd give it a 1 out of 5. Can't wait for season 2, though. I'm sure that's not going to make things worse. And, Star Wars fans, some of you got to get a hold of yourself. And I know that sounds totally hypocritical of me to say after spending 20 minutes ranting about Star Wars. I realize that I need to get a hold of myself, too. But some of you are just losing your minds. I got called a nerd on Twitter as an insult the other day by someone who was wearing a Sailor Moon costume. Now, there's nothing wrong with Sailor Moon. I'm not judging. But if I'm a nerd and you're wearing a Sailor Moon costume, what the fuck does that make you? You know what I mean? Like, we're in the same ballpark, okay? If I'm a nerd for talking about Star Wars, you're a nerd for dressing like Sailor Moon, right? I mean, we're in the same ballpark. We're not sitting in the same section, but we're definitely in the same ballpark. It's like ridiculous to call me a nerd. But by the way, call me a nerd for complaining and criticizing something in nerd culture. Used to be you were a nerd for liking it. But now I'm a nerd for complaining about it. I don't get it. The world's gone mad. And obviously so have I. But I apologize for the length of this video. I realized that it was just a rant. It's not even a review. It's just me ranting like a lunatic about some of the crazy shit, the perceived crazy shit, in my opinion, of this show. And I just really need to get some of it off my chest. I don't even care if anybody listens to it, honestly. I just wanted to get this out there because I needed to vomit up some of the bile created by this show. So if you actually did listen to this dog shit, I appreciate it. And let me know what you think. Hopefully my next video will be more focused and more funny and maybe a little less unhinged. Anyway, until next time, take it easy.
Anyway, I'm sorry, but that just happens to be how I feel about it. What do you think?